Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. Thanks for watching the four-wheel drive edition of our show. I'm your host, Coach Tripp, Paul Tripoli, my buddy, my high school teammate, Syracuse great defensive lineman, Bill Pendock, in the house. Billy, thanks for joining our show.
Anytime, Paula. You know that. Anytime.
Hey, man, we're missing Blaze Winter. Blaze is in Vegas at a speaking engagement. He's a motivational speaker. And I think he said last week he's going to do something with the Hanson brothers. Remember from Slapshot, the movie?
Yeah.
Like that picture I sent you?
Yeah.
Folks, today's segment brought to you by Hill Kelly Dodge. Here on Coach's Corner, we try to inspire and educate the mind to think, the heart to feel, and the body to act. So, right, coming up on the show, we're going to talk about head, heart, and soul, some maxims. Conceive it, to believe it, and achieve it. If you're lucky enough to find a guy with a lot of head and a lot of heart, he'll never come off the field second, unquote. That's from Vince Lombardi. And have you ever heard the phrase, for success, you must conceive it, then believe it to achieve it? It's a cliche. Lombardi loved quotes, maxims, and phrases like that. He said they're cliches for a reason. They're true. That's what Lombardi said. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Billy, we'll dive into it a little bit deeper. We get through. Number one is to conceive it. This conception starts with the mental stage. It's on your mind. You think about it all the time. It's in your head. You visualize it sometimes, making the perfect plays. Visualization is a powerful tool. By visualizing all the time, you end up dreaming about it. It stays in your subconscious mind. That is the conceivement. That starts all in your head. It's all about the mental capabilities. Number two is the believe it stage. This is the emotional and the physical stage. You got to have extreme confidence in yourself. I heard a great athlete, a Hall of Famer, said once, if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. You got to have unshaken faith. You have to be an optimist. You can't be a pessimist. You have to have persistence. That's omnipotent. Persistence is omnipotent. I had a show with Steve Nissom, a local sports reporter, 30-year award-winning sports broadcaster, and I asked him, he's interviewed hundreds of Hall of Fame people over the years, and I asked him the one characteristic they all had in common. He said persistence. All right, you got to overcome obstacles when you're in the believe it stage. Okay, you can never quit. You have to have hard work in there because there's no substitute for hard work. And then lastly, you have to sacrifice. There's something you must give up in order to get something. Okay, cost-benefit analysis. And then number three, if you do the first two, number three is the achieve it phase. It's like the self-actualization stage, gratification in the realization of achievement. So you rejoice, you celebrate, and you are grateful for it. Then you get the feeling of humility. You are humbled by it. Then comes honor. No person was ever honored for what he received. Honor has been the reward for what he gave. Yeah, that's the conceive it, believe it, achievement.
Excellent.
I like that last one. Honor has been the reward for what he gave, not for what he took from somebody. Never a transactional situation. It's always transformational. Man, out of these characteristics, we want to go around the horn, Billy. You're to my left. Blaze is to my right. Timmy Green and Jamie Kimmel are in the back of the truck. Is that because you guys were seniors and Timmy was a sophomore?
Well, I'll tell you, Paulie, it was, going back to those days, back to 83, that was my Ford pickup. That was an F-250. I brought that out for the picture. That was a 1977 F-250 pickup that I had, and I ended up saying, I got to put. Actually, the whole thing was me and Blaze were really the rear wheels in the four-wheel drive, and Timmy and Jamie were considered the front wheels. But
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to put these two guys in the back, even though they didn't get along that much in school. They stood for the picture for about 2.5 minutes, and we got it done. But
Was that for Sports Illustrated?
that was part of the Sports Illustrated pick. That one never got in. The one with the Jeep got in. But,
Oh, okay. Is it true that they wanted you to like wear shorts and a tank top for all you guys, and O'Leary wanted you in full uniform with the helmets on?
with helmets. That was, and we got punished for that picture without our helmets on.
Oh, did you really?
Oh yeah. You know, Coach O was not about too much media stuff. You know, it was all about playing the game. So it was kind of back then. You know, this stuff they do now was not part of what we did. You know, it was just about what you did on the field, and that you know, it was not about showboating or anything like that. But you know, we're going back to the 80s, 82, 83. There was probably several pictures taken. We even did one in a machine shop that we, you know, it was we were in tank tops and shorts and stuff, and it was pretty good, you know. But that picture there, I remember when we went out to take it, he said, make sure you guys are wearing your helmets. And I remember talking to the photographer, and he goes, geez, I don't think it's going to work like that. I go, well, you know, that's kind of how it went down, you know.
Oh my gosh! Well, let's talk about number one, the conception, the conceive it. You have to think about it. You have to have a passion before you dream about it. When you dream about something, especially when you're younger, it's in your subconscious mind. You know, and you can. You know, over and over. What I did, I started in college, is just thinking over and over in my mind about making the perfect play, you know, for like a run force play. If that team was a running team and I knew I was going to handle a lot of run force that week at strong safety, then I would picture myself making the perfect play over and over. You end up dreaming about it. And then when the play actually arrives, when the moment is there, then you're so focused in, you played it over in your head 100 times. It's deja vu all over again, like Yogi Berra says. You know how you've been through that play over and over. Did you guys use any sort of? I know Timmy was brilliant; he was a Rhodes Scholar.
Right.
But did he ever talk about using that, or did any of the guys you ever talk about that?
You know, a big thing for us, and I remember, you know, as far as that conceiving part was, I think film work had a lot to do with that. When you watch film, and we would do 8 to 12 hours a week on just film work.
Wow.
And we not only watched our own film work, but we would watch the plays being, you know, over and over again. You know, we'd watch a single play. That was when it was 16 millimeter. And, you know, you remember those days that you could
reel in that film and that projector.
Right. I mean, your first step would go, you know, Coach, he'd run it back and forth.
Yeah.
And it was in your mind to take that 6-inch step. And it became second nature after doing the fundamentals and watching so much film, and then taking it to the field became, once you got in your stance, you could visualize everything that was going to happen in front of you, you know.
Right.
And anything that did occur, you could handle out of that short 6-inch step. If it was a down block, if it was a trap, if it was a pass pro, whatever came out of it, you reacted to that moment.
So much film as a DB. We used to watch, of course, the offensive plays, run pass tendencies,
Right.
field tendencies, down and distance was a huge tendency. But the biggest one for us was formation tendency. What are they going to run in this formation, and what kind of defense can we run to best stop that offensive formation? So I would tell our kids, just give run pass. What do I do versus run? What do I do versus pass? But we used to, certain passing routes, There's only so many, so we would try to get those down. I can imagine you guys studying the offensive linemen in there between, a certain kind of blocks, and when they step this way, I was going to react that way.
It was exactly the same way, and we were conditioned by our defensive line coach that if they broke through the front, we lost the battle. So we didn't. We were kind of. It was a team game, but that front four was we took it to heart. We took it personal if they gained more than 2 yards, yard and a half, 2 yards. But
Billy, what? I was always DB, and I seen hundreds of thousands of plays over the years. And when they break through the line, the DBs are in a precarious position, one-on-one tackle. I always found that when the defensive line broke down, there was a gap. In other words, somebody moved out of their little 4-yard, 3-yard area. Was it most intentionally, and is it the most important thing for you guys to stay square, keep the guy engaged off of the linebackers, and not give up that spot?
Now, what went on when we were freshmen? We played, the four of us, freshman, sophomore year. The four of us played in front of a guy named Jimmy Collins, who went on to the Rams for I think 10, 11 years. And he was All-American 3 years at Syracuse. And our job basically was to occupy 5 with 4 and keep anybody off of that middle linebacker. He covered sideline to sideline. Now some people are going to say Connolly was the best linebacker at Syracuse. Some people are going to argue. And since I played with Jimmy Collins, I've never seen a guy go from sideline to sideline. If he was untouched, because you got to remember, Paulie, back then, the game was a power game. Right. It was not what it is today.
Right.
It was played about 28, 30 inches from the ground up. I couldn't tell you about what went on past the line. We used to go keys. Everything was a read key. If our base defense wasn't any good, we were going to lose the ball game. So that was the philosophy of what we played up front. Everything we played, 85% of our front was a base defensive front. We didn't stunt. Yeah. We didn't do nothing. We were that good to play a defensive base front. And you played 2-gap responsibility. Everything was read on the run. So, but again, when you the philosophy we had, coaches could not do today because it takes hours of fundamental work. And I go back to the film work. I go back to that 6-inch step. If you took a 10 or 8 or 10-inch step, you were caught in the middle of your step with a block. So if you didn't have chest on thigh, didn't get underneath the pads and take on the double team at the line of scrimmage, you lost that point of contact. So
let's talk about Coach O, because he not only was he your D line coach and head coach at Liverpool when I played with you, and he probably had the same philosophy there, because we had a great defensive line in high school, and Mark Berryhill, our middle linebacker, led the team in tackles. Like, he had twice as many tackles as anybody else, even his junior year, and he could go sideline to sideline, and he did. And he found that middle linebacker, and then when he got to Syracuse, you guys had the same thing. But that's interesting stuff. Let's talk about the believe it stage, the emotional and the physical stage. This is where all the work comes. To believe it. You got to believe in yourself. You got to have unshaken faith, optimism, confidence, and then the hard work and sacrifice are thrown in. Now, I know you guys did all of that at Syracuse under O'Leary. He would have none of it. Because we played, you played for him for 7 years, longer than anybody else on earth. So, that was not a problem. And if it was a problem, he would remove you quickly. Remember when Sweeney wanted to switch from offense to defense,
Yeah.
and George told him, "Not with that footwork of yours." No.
Right. And back then, and I go to the Dome now a little more than I used to, and I watch some of the games. I watched them the past couple of years, and I remember if you didn't play a full game, Paul, if you put your hand on top of your helmet, you wanted to come out for a play, you weren't going back in the game back then. Now these guys are interchanging in and out of the game. We used to play a full game. We were conditioned to understand that. And you talk about that idea of getting prepared to play the game, and a lot of everything for us, the front, was done in the weight room. And I credit Mike Wojcik, who went on to be the strength coach of Dallas Cowboys. He won 3 Super Bowls, I think 3, maybe more. But that was a lot of what prepared us for that next step, like you talk about, that next step from conceiving,
Yeah, right. The hard work, the fundamentals, Bill. These coaches get caught up in all the X's and O's and bells and whistles, and I've told the story before, and I'll tell it again. I was I tried to learn every year. If you're not learning, you're not growing, and you're not helping anybody. So I was in my 10th or 11th year of coaching, and we were in a playoff game, first round playoff game, and we were going up against this Division I quarterback. And I put in this collegiate game plan, or maybe a little bit of pro, man zone combo, disguise everything, go from cover 3 to 4 to 2 to read all this complicated stuff. And that quarterback threw like 3 touchdown passes on us in the first half. And I went in, I talked to the head coach, Ronnie Douglas. I said, Ronnie, we probably need to go back just to basic coverage. He said, yeah, good idea. They didn't score again in the second half. We come back and beat them, went on to the next round. So I learned a lesson that day, man. Don't give these kids too much to think about. It's just the basics. You give them the fundamentals, and then they're going to have such a solid foundation. They want to talk about it, but football is still all about blocking, tackling, and and running. I mean, it's not any different than it was in that respect years ago. But I think coaches, they get away from, and they try to make the kids think too much. That's a bad mistake. That's what I made that day. They were thinking too much. They weren't reacting. Go with something that's comfortable. Don't ever draw anything up in the dirt when you're in a game. I made that mistake at Catholic early in my career, and I vowed never to do that again. So you got play the stuff you practice. Who cares if they know what you're going to do? Everybody knew what we were going to do at Liverpool High School when we ran 4 offensive plays. Everybody knew. They just couldn't stop it, Billy.
Right. And you think back, and I know you guys played, you didn't play line, but back when we were at Liverpool, we were at Syracuse, Coach O'Leary, we spent hours working on 3-on-1s. And I remember him saying, those 3 guys in front of you, you're going to see every block you can imagine out of those 3 positions. So it covered everything. And I took that with me to my coaching days. And I know today they don't like a lot of full contact and a lot of full blocking, but that's very, very important. And when you go back and you talk about what he stressed most from our high school days to my college days was fundamentals. And I keep talking about that one short step and not taking an overstep and everything. And we went back to that, even though when we were seniors, we were all Americans, we still went back to fundamentals for at least an hour every day of practice.
Right.
It was just it was ingraining it in your mind, and that's kind of why the 4 of us kind of played well together, and we'd occupy 5 or 6 guys with 4. 2 of us were getting doubled. 1 of us was getting doubled. And that was the unselfish way to play.
Right. Billy, I'll tell another story. I was reading a book on Bill Walsh years ago, man. These years ago, I read this book. I need to reread it. And he drove by one day in the 80s. And I played with Jerry Rice. I'll tell you a story with Jerry Rice one day. But I played with Jerry Rice in the Blue-Gray All-Star game. And this was years after that. This is 1984. And Bill Walsh was talking about 1990 or 91 or something. After the 49ers have won multiple Super Bowls, he's driving down the road. Okay? Coach Walsh is driving down the road, passes a high school. And he looks over and he sees two guys out on this high school field just doing pattern after pattern, throw after throw, routine stuff that would bore a high school kid to death, unquote, says Bill Walsh. You know who it was? It was Joe Montana and Jerry Rice by themselves, just working on fundamental, like Walsh said, would bore a high school kid to death.
Right. And to your point, I get people constantly that come to me with Pop Warner kids, young kids, and I get calls all the time to go speak to coaches at Pop Warner camps, this and that, and talk to their defensive line coaches. And I say the same thing every time. You're doing Madden football here when you should be doing fundamentals with all these kids. Right. Why? And they're asking me, why do these kids disappear when they're in 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade? Why don't we see any of them going D1, going to Alabama, going to Syracuse, going to Florida State, going to Ohio? Right. They got to retrain these kids now because these coaches are not coaching them anymore. Wow. The fundamentals of the game are lost. The great coaches are no longer around anymore. They're all getting out of the game.
Yeah, that's sad, man. Sad. So if you do those first two, if you conceive it and you really believe it, then you're going to achieve it. It's the head. The head starts with the conceiving. The believing is in your heart, man. The perseverance and the drive and the hard work comes from your heart. And then when you achieve it, you're thankful, grateful, humble. The soul is satisfied, and you have that achievement of realization, and then honor. But it was funny. One last thing, I read a great book on one of my heroes, Jim Thorpe, because the NFL, named the DB award. This DB is still called the Jim Thorpe Award. He was such an athlete, and I think DBs have to be the greatest athletes on the field. But Wathohuk, which is his Indian name, Wathohuk, he did. You got to read that book. It's an amazing book. It's a great biography on Jim Thorpe. He's complicated and a lot of times, troubled individual with alcoholism. But he was doing visualization in 1918, back at the Helsinki Olympics, and all the my gosh, the stories in there about him using visualization like way before anybody even knew what the word meant.
Did you watch his movie, the Jim Thorpe All American?
Yeah, I did. Yes.
Yeah, great movie.
Yeah. All right, Billy. Well, has Syracuse their schedule? It looks pretty inviting, actually. Ohio at Syracuse to open up. Georgia Tech's coming to town, and a friend of mine who sponsors the show, New York Nick, Badlands Bar, he's from Syracuse, so he's going back up for the Stanford game.
Yeah.
I'd like you to run into him. SU at Holy Cross, SU at UNLV, and then SU at NC State for the first half of the schedule. And then the second half, they go to Pitt. Virginia Tech comes to the Dome. SU travels to BC and Cal, and then UConn comes to the Dome, and then the last one, the Miami Hurricanes come to SU for the last regular season game of the year. So, Billy, I can see some wins in that schedule. What's everybody saying up in Syracuse land?
Well, they're talking exactly like you're talking about. I'm personally. I mean, I could see minimum of 8, maybe 9. I mean, he's got a golden opportunity this year. His first year coming in. It's not a tough schedule. Right. We know it's not. But and he is getting some horses in there. He's getting a lot of good recruits. He's on the right path. I think the fans are going to be surprised here and going to be happy with what they see. I'm really impressed with Coach Brown's approach to how he's handling things up there. I think with the way NIL is going on, the changes to everything, he's kind of the guy you want into position. He's upbeat, he's up on everything, and he's on the level of players. So I think it's going to go well.
Come on, man. He came from one of the top two programs in the country right now in Georgia. Learned from Kirby Smart. Kirby's learned from Saban, and 12-team playoff this year. It's going to be so exciting, man. It's going to keep so many more teams in the hunt late in the year. And it's going to be a fun year. So I got my season tickets. Everybody's jacked up in Syracuse. I know training camp probably starts in just a few weeks, I imagine.
Yeah. Right around the corner, All right,
buddy. Well, shout out to your 4-wheel drive mates, man. And hopefully we'll get a couple of them come on next week, and have a great week, brother. Love you, man.
All right. Love you too, baby. Take care.
Take care, bud. See ya. Man, it was great with Billy Pendock, 4-wheel drive. Another segment here. Everybody stay tuned for these great messages. Without these super sponsors, this just won't be possible. Have a great sports week, everybody. So long.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
75 years of service in high-tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High-tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than a simple pane of brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray, and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
Step One works so hard to get you in the perfect car. Looking for a
For 30 years, you have seen the orange Beck signs all over the Gulf Coast listing a property for sale or lease. Beck Partners is your trusted advisor in commercial real estate, property management, commercial and personal insurance. Senior Vice President David Valletto has been with Beck Partners since 1989. Take advantage of his wealth of knowledge by calling him today at 982-7352. 982-7352. Extensive experience in all aspects of leasing, sales, management, and site selection will make sure your expectations are exceeded.
Step One works so hard to get you in the perfect car. Looking
Looking for a better car buying experience? With the Step 1 Advantage from Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola, receive no-hassle market-based pricing or incentives by pre-ordering. Looking to sell or trade? Our dedicated team will even come to you. Plus, every vehicle sold at Step 1 supports local charities right in your neighborhood. Experience the Step 1 Advantage at Buick GMC, Fort Walton Beach, and Pensacola today.
Trium Consulting for all your fencing, landscaping, pressure washing, tree trimming needs. Call 850-483-0350 for your free estimates. Serving Pensacola, Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, Destin, Perdido, Gulf Shores, Foley, and the entire Gulf Coast. Arbitrium Consulting is owner-operated, fully licensed and insured. Call today, 850-483-0350, the official landscaper of Coach's Corner.